So the sensual development in the 40s, there's a need to be touched, there's a need to interact, there's a need to interrelate and to be doing things with one's partner, not just playing the roles to bring up the kids. Not everybody's ready for that. Some people are. But this adjustment at 52, 53 is, you're starting to say, what's next? Right? And this is an emotional phase, just like the emotional phase of 21 to 30. You're either completing, you're seeing the 7 years you have to do to complete your role in society or to build it up, and with the kids, and you're trying to find what is emotionally satisfying or content, or what do you like, or what do you want, starts coming in between this age of 52 to 60. So again, this can be tied up to relationships, tied up to partying, tied up to socializing, tied up to extending, being the grandparent, trying to get the emotions with your kids or grandkids, and whether it's wanted or not, you're going along with this. This emotional development builds up till you get to the second Saturn return. Now, in this emotional development phase, well, really this phase of 52 is really, for a woman, it's menopause and the menopausal reality and the changes of what's emotional after menopause. What's next? And in guys, maybe you call it a womanopause, I don't know, but there's still an adjustment around that. You're older, what's a relationship, what's not, are you in if you have commitments on relationships and you're playing it out, or are you on your own, and where do you fit in? And you don't fit in, what am I? But the emotional development becomes important. This emotional development, what's play, what's art, little things that you enjoy. What's it all for if you don't have a few things you're enjoying? So that can be with the family and kids. It can be with something artistic, something creative you're doing, something you like doing, playing music, picking up a hobby, adding something else. It's almost preparation for the Saturn return. But for a woman through the menopause, it's a big threat. If you haven't prepared or thought about it in advance, it's a big change. It's a physical change, and the emotional development becomes far more important and far more radiant at the same time. So women that get through their menopause and have their inner spirit or their emotions coming alive, not feeling you've lost everything, and they're being emotional, this becomes a really radiant emotional development time where they're meeting people and learning things and touching emotions they've had repressed for years or tied up just in family for years. But that emotional development in one's society or where one fits in or doesn't may or may not be connected to the kids. So there's an exploration, be who you're with, who you're not with. What do you want? What do you don't want? What's contentment? What's not contentment? Are you just holding it for the pension, or what will you do after, or whatever? So by 58, 59, the second Saturn is in here. The second Saturn return. And this second Saturn return, it's a big one. Like it's not like it's like the first Saturn return, but based on what you did with society, where you fit in, where you didn't, how you had your family, not had your family, if you're alone, if you're not. It's a big one. Is there life after 58? Is there dating? No. Is there kids? What do I want to do? And the first judgment that comes in, so even at 30, you have your backbone, your health, your bones. If you've been living very aggressively, you probably hurt your bones, and it limits what you're doing at 30. But at 58 to 59, really, if you lived through your life and you haven't hurt your back, that's a miracle in itself. If you're not limping, or you've got your eyesight still good or not good, you got a physical statement of where you are and what you have to deal with in the last 30 years of your life. Because from Saturn, the second Saturn return on, you don't know how much time you have. You have to plan for 30 years, but you don't know if you got 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 or 20. You have to plan like you have. But you don't have the same energy to go at things. You have to be wiser and slow down and plan things and work it. You still can work at things, but it's more if you add some spiritual working on things, it reinforces you more. If you're just measuring everyone else and you're watching your body deteriorate, it can be a really depressing point. I'm going nowhere. But usually here, if you lived society, you had your pen, you worked hard, you got your pension, I can see how I'm going to live the rest of my life. I got these things all planned out, and you live in that plan. That's the high end. Most people are less than at the high end, and there's some compromisers. What do I do? Do I even bother? Where am I going to live? What am I going to be? What? So not only is the pressure of what I'm going to do, there's the pressure of, can I complete things with my kids or with people I know? Is there problems there? Can I help them? Can't I help them? What am I like? It's complicated. You're measuring your whole life out, and you're seeing the limits or the vulnerabilities of your age. And yet, some of the people that have been most influential in the world have started their lives at 60 and made their influences in their 70s and 80s. So it's really, I was much older when I was 15 or when I was 21, going through those Saturn things. I was much older then and much more judgmental then than I am now. I'm maybe more of an old fool now, still working, I think, but I'm not as serious as old as I was way back then. So the need to grow, the need to develop, need to work on yourself, the need to take on the next challenge. So from 60 to 66, 67, you're just instinctively getting to your, when do you retire? When do you pay? Are you going to, is it all set up or is it not? What are you going to do? You're instinctively trying to live your senior years. You're growing, you're trying, just like you're growing up at home, just like you started into society at 30. So it becomes instinctively, wow, what happened when I was just after born, the Saturn there? What happened at this 29, 30? What happened at 58, 59? These are all formative times where cycles began from. And you can see the pattern repeating on a different level, at a different age, at a different time, but it's still similar puzzles. Instinctive development from 60 to 60, or are you just saying, that's it, I'm just putting time in? But still there's a need to be meaningful and grow and do things with your time during that. You can't do the same, you can't be this physical as when you're 20, but you still can work on things through that period. At 67, there's another adjustment. You're getting older. And by then you're for sure retired, although I'm not retired because I've always worked for myself. So it's, there's still adjustment of authority, kids growing up, you're being a parent, what are you doing? Most people won't hire you from 67 on. There's an effort of how much time you can put where. So there's a need of pacing oneself and cutting back and deciding what one wants to do, how to save time, how to save energy, to navigate more cautiously, more practically. Then there's a period of mental development from 67 up to 70, 72. Yeah, up to 67, up to 72, 75, 72, 73, 74. Once you get to the next Saturn opposition. But that's a mental development from 67 to 72, 73, 74. In that area, you're thinking, you're rethinking life. And does your mind go to spiritual development, or is it just completing things, or does that, like, how wise is it? There's a new type of growth, a type of study that's coming in, how to learn to be old. And it's not like you're old, you're still who you are, you're just having to navigate with what you got, but you still keep your mind alive and you're still learning and growing. But against this background, the real mechanical things come up and you can see, are you in a home or not in your home? Are you healthy enough? Do you need help? Don't you need help? Are you getting it? Are you not? These issues are tied into it, but at the same time, at this mental development, if you haven't lived healthy, if your body started to be weak, in each of these stages, there's a more deterioration, and the mental development, that's probably from 67 to 72 or 75, when a lot of people start going senile or getting tired and not having the energy to maintain things the same way. So by 75, you've reassessed, you've assessed the family, you've reassessed the society. Now you're reassessing the spiritual associations you have, or the interconnections you have to people at this age. There's a different wisdom come in. You're just, who knows how long you get. You have things, you can maybe help out with kids or not help out with kids, or you have them, you don't have them. There's a different awareness comes in. It's not so much about what I do, is how I'm aligned. How do I not become so dependent? But there's still, if you're still healthy, and there's still lots to be done. But you can't do it with your kids or other people. Usually by this time, the kids are trying to tell you how you should do, what you should do. So for me, I got this coming up in a couple of years. I'm not quite there yet. I can see it. But anyways, it's the awareness of, structural limitation of the structure of your body, how old you are, how healthy you are, what's next, and you're trying to react to the way you've been from 60 to 75, how you've been living. How do I change this? How do I adjust this? And sometimes you have limits coming in. You have to adjust because you can't, if your leg's not working or you can't get around, you have to make adjustments to get by with those limitations and then try and work within it. But from 75 going up to 80, 82, you're still, it's sensual development. So what's sensual development at 75? It's more interaction and having sensations and reactions around within the scope of where you are. It's not just hiding off in a shell and dying. It's what makes you feel alive. So a little bit of yoga or Tai Chi or some things, or a walk, different things are in this process. But it also could be tied up to you and kids or grandkids, or you become sophisticated. If you're a woman that's been a mother, as soon as you're a mother, you're more than one person. You're your chart. There's their lives, there's the husband's life, there's all these people's lives that are part of your lives that are really, it's not so simple. But still, you're going through and you only have so much time. So here you have this, I don't only have so much time. How good am I? Do I have to wind it down? How much do I have to wind? What can I still do? This assessment comes in at 75. Do I get a home or I don't have a home? Where am I going to be? What am I going to do? Really, you live in day by then anyways, but sometimes some people are more secure. Sometimes as you get older, past 45, there's a certain karmic consequence to the Saturn's development. There is going into past lives from the Saturn development up to 45, but after 45, you're responding to what you've done or haven't done. What respect you have, what honor you have, what accomplishment you have or haven't got. And everybody has a wide spectrum of what they can achieve or what they don't achieve, and it's different for everybody. But by the time you pass 75, everybody figures you're supposed to be here, you're supposed to be there. I had two clients once, they came to see me. One was 94, I think she was 94 and he was was 94 and she was 97, and they came to me, they wanted to get married. They fell in love in the home and they wanted to get married. And their kids thought it was horrendous. How could they even think of something? Really, they were worried about their inheritance. But they did get married and they were very happy for a few years. But you get the social process thinking where you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to be at this age, at that age. You're not supposed to do this or that. And there's a new understanding of assessing that, a new way of figuring out how to develop that anyways, and extending that to who you can. Then by the time you get over to 82, 84 is the end of the Uranus cycle. It's the beginning of the second childhood, but from 82 up to 90 or 82 to 88, 89, in that period, it's the emotional development, and the emotions at that age are more spiritual emotional. They're more transcendent, or how content are you or not content are you? And a lot of that is going to be tied up to, as your body is weaker and going, do you have an inner contentment or not? Or is it just, if you don't have an inner world that's developing, life is going to look horrible and you're going to be discontented and a bitter old lady, bitter old man. Or weaker and going down. But at the same time, we have different, like some of it in this later years, a lot depends on whether you were alone or whether you had kids or whether you don't, whether they were there to help you or not help you, or there was, there's no easy way to see this. It just gets measured all the way around. So this is the basic Saturn cycle. Now, I'm going to take a few minutes just go over mine. Used to be when I taught these classes live, everyone would give their experiences at this time. This happened to me, this happened to me. And I can't quite manage that in these webinars. So I started with a difficult formula and parents not being together. Then we moved. My father was having to get some work, and I was in school. I was in the gym team in the beginning of a lot of athletics at 7 at the Square. At the opposition, when I was 14, say 15, 16, I failed my grade 10. My father had an operation. He had his lung taken out, almost died. He was in the hospital for a year. I got in trouble with the law. I failed grade 10. I skipped work. I was disassociated. Finally, he got back. He was back at work. He was working together. I went back. I had a big talk with him. I told him, he was trying to tell me what to do. I said, don't tell me what to, leave me alone. I'll go back. I quit school. And I went to work for my dad at the bank, but then I said, look,